Oh, there he is.
What's up, gang?
What up, brother? How you doing, man? I ain't think I was
Awesome.
gonna see you till next week.
How you been?
Good, man. Been doing well. Been doing
How are
well.
you, man?
Awesome, brother.
What's up, boss man?
Yes, sir.
All's good.
How are you?
Chilling.
I like those shoes too. I wasn't
They
expecting
pretty
that.
Thank you,
hard.
sir.
I wasn't expecting
Nike
that.
drip right here.
You guys sponsored by Happy Dad?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
Good
why
for you.
that's why we saw you in Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah, we were out there with them. Shoot, they're like you, man, marketing geniuses.
Those are my boys, man. Those
Yeah.
are my boys. Great guys.
Yeah.
Smart. And
Right.
they can work. Those kids work
Yeah.
hard, man.
They do.
Hard. They've been on the road from California to New Jersey, you know, going store to store promoting this shit. I did 2 days with them in Nashville.
Nashville, yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, this shit, I'm going home, man. 2 days was enough for me.
Yeah.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, can't pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Take a stomach, can't pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up.
Well, man, welcome to the Pivot. Channing, Freddie T. Obviously, this is Dana White, UFC president, man.
You're a sneakerhead. You're a sneakerhead, Dana?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Those pretty dope dunks right there.
Yeah, they
I'll,
are.
I'll walk you guys through when we're done and show you just what I got here at the office.
All right, I want to check it out.
Hey, like, what do you got at the office?
But, you know, what's the what they say? You can't hide money?
Cannot hide it. Hey, you cannot hide it. But it's so crazy, man. Like, I've been a fan. I mean, I'm a Spike fan. I used to buy UFC, Greatest Knockout DVDs,
Yeah.
all of those things. And it's like, as much as the UFC has grown, I mean, other than this way, like, you have grown too. You know what I'm saying? And you have grown with it. But I think so many times people see you sitting in that seat and strapping belts around people, and they think life has always been great for you. But growing up for you was a little different. Like, how have you used things from growing up in Connecticut to help you be truly the dude that's been the engine that's pushed the UFC to where it is?
Well, I was born in Connecticut because that's where my grandmother lived. So my mom went there to have me. But we lived in Boston.
Okay.
And then moved to Vegas when I was in like 5th grade. You know, I come from a single mom who worked hard and didn't have a lot of money. And you know, the one thing that was very lucky for me is, I'm sure you guys run into this all the time with young people. If you ask them, let's say they're in college, and you ask them, you know, what's your major? They're like, well, I'm majoring in political science, but I think I'm going to switch to this. They went to college because everybody told them if you didn't go to college, you wouldn't amount to anything.
Yeah.
So they get to college and they don't know what the hell they want to do. And the key to life is finding out who you are and what it is you love to do and what it is you want to do for the rest of your life. And where I was very lucky is I always knew, you know, and I always knew I wanted to be in the fight business. And, you know, back then, you know, you're talking the mid-'80s, people thought that was the dumbest shit they ever heard, you know, that I wanted to be in the fight business. How are you going to make money doing that? How are you going to, you know, and I didn't care. It was what I wanted to do, and it was what I was passionate about. So I spent, you know, my whole young life working toward that, you know, from the time I was 19 years old to today.
I saw you dropped out of college twice.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, I got kicked out of high school a bunch of times and had to go to different schools. I was just never a school guy. You know, I it's not that I didn't want to learn and I didn't want to be successful. It just school wasn't for me. So even when, you know, I started to get involved in my own business and doing my own thing, you know what I did? I went to the bookstore and I bought books on marketing. I bought books on finance. I bought books on PR. I just read books and listened to you know, people speak and stuff like that. That was how I learned, and it was a lot more fun than going to school.
Self-taught.
Exactly.
Self-taught, man.
And so, like, even with that, you took over, like, you guys, you in the Fertitta family, you took over a business that didn't necessarily have a direction.
The brand was you know, was horrible. The brand, you know, was called human cockfighting. It was illegal in many states, wasn't sanctioned by the athletic commissions, and you know, we saw what we thought it could be if it was done the right way, marketed the right way, run toward regulation, get it regulated. Should be a real sport. These are real athletes. I mean, and when you looked at it, you have guys that could punch, kick, wrestle, do submissions, yet boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, judo, and all those things were legal in actually Olympic sports.
Right.
Why couldn't this be something, you know? So that was how we looked at it. The other thing that I always thought is that this could be a global sport and that this would work all over the world, because no matter what color you were, what language you spoke, what part of the world you were from, we're all human beings, man, and we like fighting.
Yeah, that's real
You
talk.
said it was a trash brand. I read something somewhere. You bought it in 2001 for $2 million.
Right.
And you had to get back the UFC.com website from a company, User Friendly Computers.
That's
what was that
incredible,
like?
you know that story. Yeah, so this guy owned user-friendly computers. And this was my big first business mistake. So I called him up, and we want to buy, you know, the .com from him. And I don't remember the number, but he wanted something like $20,000. And I motherfucked him up and down, you piece of shit. 20,000, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. He's like, F you. He hangs up the phone. So we battle for years. But the UFC just starts to go like this. So we end up paying like, you know, crazy number, $150,000, $200,000 for the thing eventually, when I should have took it for $20,000 in the beginning. Yeah.
You know, you talk about that business move not necessarily being, you know, your smartest or the dumbest that you've made, but everything you've done since has seemed to work. Like it really has.
It was all downhill after
I know, you know
user-friendly
what I'm saying? Like
computers.
at the user-friendly computers, what was it that made you think that this could be this big? Because it's overtaken boxing. It's the #1 combat sport, and honestly, this is not saying the #1 combat sport, the #1 promotion in the world.
It's one of the biggest sports leagues in the world
Yeah.
too. And you know, when we sold for $4.025 billion, which was the biggest number anything had sold for in sports.
See, Freddie T, that's how you could buy a lot of them shoes. Yeah. You get that.
And since then, and everybody, when we sold, everybody was talking about how Ari overpaid for it and what a stupid move, blah, blah, blah. And then the thing's just gone like this since then too. Yeah. So we always believed that this thing could be big if we did it the right way and it was done the right way. The question is always about the timing. Is the timing right? And the reality is the timing couldn't have been better, because technology has really been our friend. And I'm older than everybody in this room, but when I grew up, and a couple of you might relate to this, we had Channel 3, Channel 5, Channel 8, and Channel 13, right? Yep. Then cable came, and you had like 30 channels on cable. Then satellite came, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now there's 1 million channels, and including streaming. All these streaming services are starting to happen, which was something that we dreamed about years ago. Because if you think about what my philosophy is, that this works everywhere, everybody gets it, everybody likes it. How many people are there in the world? 7.5, 8 billion people in the world, right? What's my ceiling?
Right. What's stopping you?
The more you continue to grow the sport and the more people you get to it, and you've been to a live event, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing better on TV than football. Football's the best sport in the world to watch on TV. It's fun, it's exciting. You don't even have to be a fan of the teams, and you love football. Going to a football game live, it's not as exciting. It's not as good of an experience as watching it on TV, in my opinion. Basketball, I'm a big Celtics fan. We just swept, you know, Brooklyn. I couldn't be happier. Basketball is one of those sports, you know, if you got nothing to do, you watch the whole game. But really, tune in for the last 7 minutes of the game and watch the last 7 minutes. But live, and if you sit on the court, it's bad. It's fun as hell to go to a live basketball game, right? It's very energetic.
Especially at the Garden.
These dudes are huge, running,
Quick as hell,
slamming,
yep.
you know, great passes. It's so much fun. So I could go on and on. The UFC is awesome on TV. It's a great television product, whether you're at home with your friends or if you're watching it in a bar, it's great. But when you go live, there's nothing like a UFC event live. And as we continue to travel this thing around the world and people come and experience that live event, Nobody walks out of a live event and goes, yeah, I'm never coming to one of these again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite. You become addicted. So as we continue to move around, and now that all this COVID bullshit's going away, and we can actually start going back into other countries and putting on events, and now they're streaming.
Yeah.
So no matter where in the world we are, if I wanted to cut a TV deal, if I had a TV deal in the United States and I wanted this to air in Germany and France and England and Spain, I'd have to cut 1 million different TV deals. Now I only have to cut one. And not only do you only cut one, we can all watch it at the same time on the same channel. And I believe that in the next 5 to 7 to 8 years, there's going to be a Channel 3, a Channel 5, a Channel 8, and Channel 13 like there were, the big ABC, NBC, CBS when we were growing up globally.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to be Amazon, YouTube, ESPN, Disney. I don't know who it's going to be, but there will be, 4 or 5 big players globally.
And Dana, you say it, and it's so smooth when it comes off, but you got kicked out of high school. You don't have a college degree. You took a $2 million business into a $4 billion business.
Shane, this show's very bad for parents. The parents that are at home, like, listen, you got to get good grades. You got to stay in school.
Get
You
a
got to go to
scholarship.
college. Get a scholarship.
Yeah, I don't
They're
want
like,
to pay
man,
for your
shit,
school.
David White, rich as hell.
How do you think I have to explain that to my kids when I tell them they have to go to school?
But that process, you even said that there were states that you couldn't even fight in. They wouldn't let you fight in. But now you're worldwide. Like that process of $2 million to $4 billion. How hard was that?
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard, yet at the same time, it was awesome. We had a blast. I did it with people that I love. I mean, we were just talking about this the other day. One of the guys that works for me here worked for Major League Soccer and he worked for the NFL. He said, you know what's so crazy about this place? When you walk around this building, people are like, yeah, I've been here for 8 years. I've been here for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. My staff that works here has been here forever.
Yeah.
He was telling me that in sports in general, there's like a 3-year window where people just keep churning through the place. We built something special here, and we all love what we do, and it's fun. We're like a big family here, and it's why when COVID hit, I was so adamant about going through COVID and not laying off any of my people, and we'd figure it out, and we all stuck together. And then when it was time to work, when I did figure it out, and I'm not saying everybody, there weren't some people that were scared and wondering what was. They all went to war with me, man. We all went out and we did it. And I think since that's happened, we've become even closer. And here as a team, and we all love what we do. So yes, it was hard, but yet at the same time, like they always say, it's really all about the journey. And we've had a really incredible journey.
Dana, you mentioned COVID though, and like you guys were the sport that kept us going. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev became a star during COVID. You were able to have championship fights. You had fight nights, and you did all of these things, and you moved around and found ways to do it when everyone else was making excuses. What was that process like for you? Because we see the final product, right? All I know is you're fighting in Dubai, DC's flying over there to do the commentary, and it seems like it was a very easy process because of what we are getting. But what was that process like to get yourself in a place to where you could continue to have events when everybody else in the world was shutting down?
I have this philosophy that nothing is impossible. Never tell me no. Never say we can't. And if this thing was as bad as they were saying it was at the time, we're all dead anyway, man. You know what I mean? What are we gonna go and hide in our houses and possibly die? Not me. And listen, as Americans, you have the opportunity to do whatever. If you want to hide in your house, hide in your house. I'm not built that way.
Right.
And I knew in Abu Dhabi, they were testing people. I'm like, well, if they're testing people, why can't we test people?
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, well, I was like, let's build a lab. Let's get some scientists, whatever, I don't know, get people who know anything about this shit, and let's build a lab here. We'll build a lab, and we'll see if we can do our own testing. And, there has to be a way around this. Guys, it's like this whole political bullshit that went on during that time with COVID, right? It's almost like not only were we trying, whoever they are, trying to separate us, the country, trying to make us weak, trying to make us And my thing is always, this is America, man. Americans don't roll over for anything. We get out and we fight and we find a way to win and to progress and to get through things like this. And then once I started hearing shit about laying off, 30-something% of my staff, I'm like, I'm not laying off one of my people. It's not happening. So listen, we're either all going to go down together and try to figure this thing out or we're not. Right?
Yeah.
What I'm not going to do is hide in my house from a virus.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
So you believe in philosophy over fate. I had to do a lot of research on this because I read somewhere again that you're an atheist. Do you ever have those come to Jesus moments though, like if a turbulent flight or anything like that?
Well, no, but I'm not going to lie. There were a few times through this thing. It was when you talk about how hard it was to build this business, nothing was harder than going through COVID. I'm being attacked by everybody. I'm the devil. I care about money more than people and all this other bullshit rhetoric that they want to put on you because they don't like that you're trying, And, just had to battle through that, just live in my own bubble here. But sometimes, we'd hit so many dead ends and so many walls. There's a couple times I'm like, what the are you doing? What are you doing? Wow. What are you doing? Am I doing the right thing?
Right.
And I'd say, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. Let's go.
Did Goodell or Stern or any other leagues? You talk to anybody that runs the other leagues when they saw it when you started barreling through and going like you said, and then when they saw it working, did anybody reach out to you?
Yeah. There were several teams that did reach out to us, leagues, especially when we set up in Abu Dhabi. And at the time, President Trump put me and a bunch of the other guys in sports on a panel, and we would get on a call every week with the president and walk through how we would do this. And God, I don't even know if I should talk about this publicly, but
you good?
do it.
This is what we do.
I've never talked about this before. So we were on a call with the president one time, and I remember I was listening to everybody get on there and talk, and I was like, these guys are all full of shit. None of these guys are gonna fucking roll or really wanna do what they're saying they're gonna do, except for one. And when we hung up the phone, he texted me and said, why the didn't you talk on that call? There's questions that need to be asked. You didn't ask any questions. You didn't do this, berating me on this text. 3 guesses who it was. One of the sports guys. One of the other sports guys who was also going, and he talked but felt like, he's like, why didn't you talk?
Goodell?
And I didn't talk because I felt like everybody was full of shit, except for him.
Roger was still going though. He just did it a different way.
Vince McMahon.
Oh, God, yeah.
Vince McMahon starts texting me and basically berating me after the call, like, why didn't you talk? Why didn't you back up what I was saying? And we got to go through this and all this other shit. And I was like, because I think everybody's full of shit. That's why. Except for you.
Right.
You're definitely not full of shit, Vince. Vince is a killer.
Yeah.
And Vince was putting on his events down in Florida at the time too.
Yeah.
So
when you think about, you mentioned Vince, and obviously, what you do, it's become like you found a way to make stars in a sport that is very hard to make stars in, because 1 second changes a career.
right.
You can be Anderson Silva and run into Chris Weidman, and all of these things that you've built go away with a dang backhand. And so to be able to build these stars and have the McGregors and the John Jones, and Chuck Liddell was the guy that made me love the sport. How do you handle that from a marketing standpoint to make sure whenever that guy falls, you have someone else that could carry the mantle? Or is that even important to you? Does the UFC just stand because of the sport?
No, I mean, what happens now is the brand has become so powerful that when you have the brand plus a star, it just makes the whole thing so much bigger. You know what's crazy is we have these guys. I mean, as you look on the board behind you, this is the war room we're in now. These are all the top 15 in the world in every weight class.
Yep.
They're behind you, right? And what starts to happen is when Hamzat fought in Abu Dhabi, and he gets done, he's like, I want to fight next week too.
Yeah.
So when I see moments like that and I see these things, I immediately jump on them. That's one of my things that I'm actually good at, is I see these things in people, you know, and when the moment hits, I jump on it. I go to the matchmakers and I said, let's make him fight again next week. Let's do it. And then they get all pissed off and argue with me and why you can't fight next week, but we get it done. He comes out of that thing, and then you look at the last fight.
Fights Gilbert Burns. Friggin' war.
Insane, right?
Yeah.
I mean, huge star. And going through COVID, like we were just talking about that, our fan base grew 46%
Wow.
when we went through COVID. 46%. Imagine that, right? When other people weren't playing, we grew 46%. So that's the other thing that I look at when some of these other guys are soft.
You're looking for the right word?
Yeah, are soft.
I like it.
I'll fucking run them right over. I'll run them over. I love it. You don't want to play? Don't play. Hey, NBA, you don't want to go on TV? Stay off TV. NFL, you don't want to go on TV? Yeah. Beautiful. I'll go on TV. We'll be the only guys during the pandemic on TV. And think about this, and it's not just me, it's everybody in this room. You guys are all sports guys, but we realize how important sports really are when it was gone.
Yep.
I would have watched golf every day. That's how much I was jonesing. I hate golf. I would have watched golf every day if it was on.
Right.
You know, people are watching the beanbag.
Yeah.
What's that shit?
Cornhole.
Cornhole was pulling numbers during COVID. You know what I mean?
You want any piece of a sport
Just
you
something
can
we
get
can
doing
win
that time.
or lose at.
Yeah, you mentioned pushing through and kind of the call, you know, that you guys had. I was here for McGregor-Poirier too. President Trump walks in, and there was only one bigger ovation or one bigger moment when somebody walked out, and that was when Conor walked out.
I'm telling you, the Trump moment in
Yeah.
New York, I have never seen anything like that in my life. Everybody was on their chairs with their phones, and it was insane.
Do you ever get pushback, though, from that relationship, especially during COVID?
I don't give a shit. That guy's been a friend of mine for 20 years. He's one of the most stand-up, solid dudes that I've ever met in my life. If he gives you his word, done. I'm going to tell you a story off camera about him when we're done.
Yeah, you can get.
We can't get the presidential pivot right now. I mean,
you'll see why after, but yeah, no. Listen, that guy's my friend, man. It's like we've been friends for a long time, and nobody wants to get dragged out into the political arena. It's all fucking bullshit, and you know what I mean. It's all just a bunch of bullshit. And when he called me, this was when he was first going to run. And this is what he said to me. And let me explain this to you too. So when we were talking about early on, when we first got started in this business, and this brand was so bad that venues didn't even want us. You know, these arenas didn't want us sit there. They're like, whoa, we don't want this stuff in our arena. So we had a hard time finding venues. And Trump literally called us. Now remember this, think about this, where the Trump brand was. Here, UFC brand was down here. Come to my place, you know, do the event here, we'll have you at the Trump Taj Mahal, blah, 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 blah. We get there, greatest setup for us, he did this whole thing for us, showed up to the first fight and was there till the last fight. Both times we went there. Everything that happened to me in my career from there on out, he would pick up the phone and congratulate me or send something. Always been a solid guy with me. So then he calls me and says, I'm running for president. Now listen, if you don't want to do this, I completely understand. But I would be honored if you would speak at the National Republican Convention for me. Everybody told me not to do it. Everybody. And I'm like, this guy, all the things that he's done for me, I'm going to tell him no. No, that's not me.
Yeah.
I went up and I told the people the truth, who he is, what he's done for me, the type of person he's been, you know? And people who are close to him like that, like Tyson too. Tyson spoke up for him because he's always been good to Tyson. He's always been, you know.
Why did people tell you not to do it? Like, what was their justification of telling you not to do it?
Because he wasn't going to win. There's no way he was going to become the president of the United States. And to get out there and speak publicly, politically, you know, it's almost like the Jordan thing. You know, when they were talking about Jordan, I'm sure you guys watched the Jordan.
Yeah.
Incredible,
Watched
right?
like
I mean, amazing.
12 times.
Reminded us all why we fucking love Michael
Yeah.
Jordan, right? So the Jordan thing, you know, I can't remember the exact scenario, but there was a black guy running for Democrat in North Carolina or something like that, and they wanted Jordan to go out there and speak, and he's like, Republicans buy shoes too. And I think that's everybody's stance, that everybody's liberals, you know, watch the UFC too. So you want to have your fan base as big as you could possibly have. But for me, I'm very loyal, and that guy was good to me. There would be no UFC early on, you know, because we had trouble getting venues. He helped us, and you know, he helped take us to another level. And at a time when he didn't have to, and at a time when his brand was powerful and ours was nothing.
You speak about the loyalty there, which we respect. I respect being loyal to your friends and people that have supported you. Is there anything or any moment where he's done anything where you disagreed with?
I have lots of friends that do things that I don't absolutely agree with all the time. You know what I mean? It doesn't make me not be their friends anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? And some of the things that are said about Trump, and racist. He's not a racist. I can tell you that. Right? I've been around the guy for 20 years. And I could tell you 1,000 stories that you don't want to hear. But, you know, one of the things that he said to me, he says, you know what's hilarious? I've owned hotels and casinos my whole life. People from all over the world have worked for me. Never been called a racist until I became the president of the United States. And I've never seen anything or heard anything come out of his mouth in all the time that I've known him that would make me say he was. Do I agree with everything that he does and says? No. Are we 100% politically aligned? No.
Right.
But you never will be with any president of the United States. You're never going to be 100. And then when you talk about him being a friend, my friends do things that I don't agree with sometimes, you know, but doesn't make me not be their friends anymore. It's just different at a level when you have somebody that's as polarizing as Trump is.
Take it down a notch and pivot to Joe, one of your other good friends. He made some controversial
Who's
comments.
that?
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
He made some other comments, and he owned up to, you know, those things that were showed on the video. What was that moment like for you?
Another guy that I've known for a very long time. And yeah, and the other thing is too, when Joe said it, you have to put it into context to what he said.
Always.
He wasn't dropping it. He was explaining what other people had said, but he was saying the word. Apologized for it over and over again. And it's like the Kevin Hart thing, whom I respect very much for what he did. You know, he said a homophobic slur 10, 15 years ago. Apologized for it. You know, did everything the right way like you should. Then goes to host the Oscars, and they're like, yeah, well, you're going to have to publicly apologize for this again. And he's like, no, you. I apologized for that 15 years ago. And I learned, and I'm a different person now. So I'm not going to apologize for it again. I mean, you guys know the world we live in right now. And if you let the media or these other people get in your head and do those kind of things to you, that's why, you know, at my press conferences and shit, I don't play with these guys. I don't play these little. I don't play these games with these guys that they try to play with us. So, yeah, it's a tricky world we live in these days.
You're a real Bostonian at heart. I was up there for a few years with the Pats when I played there, and crazy people. Say you're a big Celtics fan.
Yep.
I heard you're a big Pats fan.
Yep.
Relationship with Tom Brady.
Yep.
I mean, what?
Where you at now, right?
Right. I just, man, the Bostonian, man, you people, they don't give a.
That's true. That is very true. Yeah, Boston is it's a lot different now than when I grew up there, but it's a crazy place, and but good, solid people come out of Boston, man, and you know, love sports, and you know, it's a different world. I've been lucky that I've had both. I've had East Coast and West Coast. You know, to be able to grow up in both places has been a really good thing for me. So I've been very lucky.
I want to go back to talking about like your friends, and they have their past and they do what they do, and you know, so if y'all been friends for 20 years, 30 years, y'all been friends and y'all have y'all businesses. What about your fighters? Like you talking about like you have a top fighter and he, you know, I don't say make the UFC, but he's the face of the UFC.
Yep.
Can you hate? Can you dislike a fighter? Like, can you dislike the face of the UFC?
You must have never watched it. You must have never watched any of his interviews,
and
bro.
still respect that he's that guy.
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest one ever was me and Tito Ortiz. We hated each other.
Yeah.
And Tito fought here for many years with us hating each other.
Like hating, like what? Like y'all,
Oh,
y'all,
we
y'all,
fucking hate each other.
y'all would walk past in the hallway and say,
100%. He wore a shirt up on stage that said, "Dana is my bitch." Yeah, at one of the weigh-ins.
Yeah.
And I always talk about, when we do interviews, I always make sure I let everybody know that he's one of the dumbest motherfuckers that you will ever meet. He's the dumbest human being on planet Earth. I let everybody know that. And yeah, he and I don't hold back.
But you still respected him for his art.
He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
100%.
In the midst of that, though, you're a marketing guru, right? Promotional guru. You mentioned what the company that sells.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely true that the feud between me, but it sells because it's real. You know, it isn't the WWE shit, you know, and this happens a lot here, you know. Think about this. I have 750 alpha males and females that I oversee, and you know, and that doesn't include my 350 employees. Yeah, this is a business where I deal with the baddest human beings on planet Earth, including women that will beat the shit out of men. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting dynamic here, different than any other business anywhere in the world.
Is that why you so goddamn big?
Nah, somebody run up on
thick,
it.
like your forearms the size of my thigh. Like, do you work out in
Wait a
case you
minute.
gotta whoop
You
somebody's
guys
ass?
are calling me big, or
But
you
you
not?
just like you.
Yeah, you
you
swole up.
yeah, I know you 50 plus. I won't put the number out. It like, are you
No,
ready? Are you ready to? You're the president of UFC. But are
Listen.
you ready to fight?
Listen, man, I'm at an age where I fight to get on the treadmill every day, let alone fuck around with any of these people, man. You know what I mean? No,
But you ain't gonna- you
I
ain't
don't
gonna
want to fight any of these people.
But you ain't gonna turn it down.
Well, no, I'm not gonna. Well,
Some
yeah,
of
I'm
them
not
might
going
need
to
to
fight anybody. Let's just put it that way. The thing is that's cool about this sport too is our athletes are unique in so many ways, and it's what makes these people so special. First of all, if you look at the top 5 across the board in every weight class, to get there is almost impossible. It's almost impossible to get there. Almost nobody does it. And to become a world champion, next to nobody gets there and does it.
Right.
And these people don't care about the real world and how it works. They don't want to go work and sit in a cubicle every day. They won't sit in bumper to bumper traffic and, you know, to a job and all this shit. They're just wired differently. That's why I knew when the shit hit the fan and I was going to go through COVID, I knew they'd go. I knew they'd go. I knew they would. And what's crazy is no matter what part of the world you're from, no matter what color you are, no matter what language you speak, it's almost like we're all aligned here. You know what I mean? Like the NBA. You had guys that wouldn't play, guys that wouldn't do this, guys that wouldn't do that, guys that had to get vaccinated immediately, Kyrie who wouldn't get vaccinated. My thing was here, and again, this is all about us being Americans, and this is what I want everybody to try to please remember. We're Americans, all of us, no matter what color you are, whatever, what religion you are, whatever the thing is, and this is a free country. Kyrie doesn't want to get vaccinated. Kyrie shouldn't get vaccinated. That's up to him, his body, it's his life. In this country, he gets to make that choice. And it started to get scary there for a minute, where this whole thing was like, you couldn't go to dinner unless you put this thing, you couldn't go to work, you couldn't be a part of society. We didn't do that here. If you felt safe getting vaccinated, then you got vaccinated. If you didn't feel safe getting vaccinated, then don't get vaccinated. That's the way this country works, man. So we're all aligned here with that stuff. There was none of that bullshit going on here. And for all the craziness with Kyrie, I fucking respect the fact that he stood up for himself and did that in a league where standing up for yourself wasn't the smart thing to do.
Right. That's the question I have for you though. You talk about standing up for yourself, and you look at some of the champions, right? You have Francis, who you guys were talking about different things with contracts. Nathan Diaz is on his last fight. John Jones, a dude who, at least to me, was the greatest champion we'd had. Like we've
100%.
like barely seen him in trouble, other than maybe against the Mauler.
Yep.
When you deal with these dudes and you're trying to make these fights, you kind of talked about the politics thing as it opposes, as it goes to like government. Are there politics in what you do, or are you like, I'm trying to make the best fight, I'm trying to get the best champion, I'm trying to put the best product out for those people who pay money to see
you? Just nailed it. There's no secrets here. There's no, there's no politics. The best fight the best here. You know what I mean? One of the big problems with boxing has been you couldn't get the best to fight the best. Riddick Bowe threw his belt in the garbage so that he didn't have to defend it against Lennox Lewis. And so many other things that have happened in the past where we didn't get to see the great fights we wanted to, or we saw them way too late. Here, the best always fight the best. And there's no secret to that here. This didn't just pop up yesterday. This has been the way we run this business for 20 years. And there's always going to be headbutting. There's always going to be, do you make enough money?
No, absolutely not.
Do you make enough money? I mean,
absolutely not.
I want you to meet the guy that goes, oh, I'm good. I make plenty of money. I don't need another dime. You're never going to meet that guy. Right. That's never going to happen. Everybody wants more money. And one of the big problems with boxing too is that all those guys are overpaid. Mm-hmm. And every time they put on a fight, it's a going out of business sale. You know what I mean? We're just trying to get as much money as we can from you guys, and then we're out of here, and we'll see you in 3 years. You can't build a league like that. You can't build a sport. You can't have 750 fighters under contract, making money, feeding their families every year with that kind of mentality. It doesn't work. You have to run a business.
But what's the pay scale of a fighter? Like what the judgment of it? Like you say, the boxers are overpaid, making $70 million a fight, whatever it is, $20 million, whatever it is.
Yep.
So how do you evaluate what your fighters are worth in that fight?
Yep. So what we did is we built a business model where they share. If you're the champion, you share in the pay-per-view revenue. If you're the guy headlining the card, or there's been some special occasions where we know you're bringing in the money too, that you're a big draw. So you two get to share in the pay-per-view revenue. You eat what you kill. Mm. You know what I mean?
I say that all the time.
And the truth is, you get some of these guys that, you can walk in and say, I want $30 million. Okay? Based on what? I do too. Give me $30 million. You want $30 million? Right? We all want 30. Based on what? If you look at, and you're never going to have the guys on the other side worrying about the business of the sport. Because it's always, this isn't a team sport.
Right.
Right?
Give me.
You're not in a situation where Tom Brady says, I know I'm the best quarterback ever. Right? So I should be getting paid millions and millions of dollars. But I'm going to take less money because I want to build a winning team. Right. I can't do everything myself. I need guys that can catch the fucking ball. I need guys who can block me to make sure I don't get fucking murdered. I need a good defensive line to hold it. So let's build a big team. I'll take less money. Very rarely does that happen in sports. But in this sport here, me. It's about me.
Yeah.
I'm the biggest star here. I knocked out 30 people. I did this. I did that. I want as much money as I can get. And I really don't give a shit about anybody else, including you, the boss that runs the business. Right. I don't care about this whole business. It's about me. So you have to maintain some sort of control over that type of stuff to run a real business. Because at the end of the day, the reason this business has been this rocket ship of success is because not only have we built a solid business where, these fighters are all making lots of money and they're doing well, even guys that are journeymen are making, we got guys, the other thing that drives the media crazy, and a lot of the fans too, is we don't tell people what these guys get paid. So I always tell these fighters, and I tell the media, ask them what they get paid. They can tell you what they make. I could tell you what each guy has made since the day he fought here, total since they've been here. I could give you all those numbers. I could have them in 5 minutes. You don't ever hear any of the fighters telling you what they get paid, ever, because they don't want you to know either.
Yeah.
And you guys know, you guys come from this world. As soon as that number comes out in the paper, what you get paid,
Looking at your pockets now.
you know exactly what happens.
Yeah.
You start getting relatives
Looking
and
at your
friends and
pockets,
shit
yeah.
you never knew you had, and everybody's coming, trying to borrow money from you, and most of them aren't paying you back because you're rich.
Yeah.
You got the money, you
That's
don't need
real.
me to pay you back. Yeah, don't laugh,
That's real.
No,
No, that's
it's
real.
happened to everyone.
No, that's real.
100%.
Dana, does it bother you when people from the outside, like the Paul brothers and different people, are always trying to point to your pay scale because they've figured out a way to fool the world into thinking that they're legitimate fighters?
Well, no. And here's the thing. It's what I always say. If you don't like what I'm doing, you don't like the way I'm doing it, go out and raise some money. I did. And start your own.
Yeah.
Pay them whatever you want to pay them. That's what that clown from Triller was saying. The guy that runs Triller, he came out with a statement, I pay my ushers more than he pays his fighters. You know how much money that guy's lost in the last 2-3 years? Crazy money. What the are you bragging about? You got to be the dumbest, most crooked businessman of all time, and you're bragging about it?
Yeah, that's.
But knock yourself out. Pay the ushers whatever you want, you fucking idiot. Right? I mean, it's
Real talk,
I mean, when you put this stuff in context and talk about it, we've built one of the most successful sports leagues of all time in 20 years. People actually want to invest money into this thing, which makes the sport grow, which makes it more opportunities for more people, not just the fighters, but my employees and the people that we hire, guys like you who get to work on the show. And it just continues to grow and grow and grow. When you let these people come in and suck, all the life and the money out, it doesn't work. You have to run a real business, and you have to have a business that people are interested in, want to invest in.
And RC brought up the Paul brothers, but Logan and Jake. I got into it with Jake. We argued before. Would you let a celebrity UFC fight happen? Because now everybody's boxing. Everybody wants to box.
I know.
Would you let that happen?
I know. And if you look at what's happened with them, he's gone out there, Jake. Logan's cool. I did his podcast recently, and he's a good kid, and I like him. I've given him tickets before. Jake is the exact opposite. He likes to stir shit up and butt heads and all that stuff. It's attention 101. I mean, it's textbook how to get attention. I just take it for what it is. That's what it is. And the media like to print it. Not the real media, the goofy internet guys like to use what he says because they're looking for clicks.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that kid wants to fight here.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to fight here because he doesn't think we really don't pay guys. He wants to fight here because he knows this is where the money is, regardless of what he says. But I would never say never. I don't know. I look at it sometimes and it's kind of intriguing, but it kind of goes against what I do. I really do bring the best of the best in. And I've tried to do a couple of those celebrity things with some WWE guys. Some worked, some didn't, but I wouldn't say no. I did Mayweather McGregor when I said I would never do that.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that.
So who knows?
Right. I want to go back. You talk about dropping out of school, different ways to make money, not going to college, parents looking down on that and frowning on it. But we live in an age where YouTubing is a big thing, right? We get paid from YouTube here on this podcast. Jake and Logan, do your kids
Yeah.
your kids are YouTubers?
Well,
mine are.
the first time I ever heard of those two was from my daughter and her friends when they were really little. There was some song they were listening to or something. But yeah, this whole YouTube thing is fascinating. And you have these kids like Logan and Jake the Nelk boys, and a lot of others, Bryce Hall, some of these kids who have really parlayed YouTube videos into big money, and you gotta give them credit, man. It's incredible, and you know, I might feud with some of these guys. Like, I can hate Bob Arum. Bob Arum is a true scumbag who's done some bad shit in dealing with him, right? But you know, I don't hate Jake Paul. Jake Paul's looking for attention. I hate the guy. You know, and everybody has their opinions, and I'm sitting here telling you guys about America and we're free. Everybody can have their own opinion, and you know, it's all good.
Right.
And Dana, you mentioned, like, we've been talking about money. Early on, you talk about building this business from $2 million to where it was and selling it. You know, you're a Bostonian, man, and from Vegas as well. Tell me what was that like? Like, what did you do when you guys make the sale to WME and you know that not only is the business going to keep growing, but now you have just all of this cash dumped on you? Was it like some big UFC party in Abu Dhabi? Did y'all hop on a big plane and you take everybody over? Like, what was the next?
It's a great question. And that is exactly what you would think, right? But it wasn't at all for me. It was actually a really bad time for me. I didn't want to do it. And the Fertittas were ready to get out. And they were like, and here was the thing, they had a sit down with me. And they're basically like, you know, we had everybody in here going through the deal. Everybody was in here kicking the tires, looking to buy it, from ESPN to Turner to all these different funds and groups from all over the world. And they sat me down and said, we're going to sell this thing and we're ready to go, but nobody will take it unless you stay. So you have to stay. Wow. You have to do this. And I was kind of in a weird place because I'd done this thing with them. You know, these are my best friends. We'd done it together. And I got a little up. I took off for a little while, went up into a hotel room and didn't come out for a few days.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a little up over the whole thing. Then I snapped out of it. I got my shit together, and yeah, you know, the sale happened. You know, it ended up, so there were a few groups, and what I was saying is, if I have to stay, don't and put me with some fucked up group of people that you know what I mean? So Ari was going at this thing hard, and I wanted to be with Ari, so it worked out perfect. And Ari's been incredible to work with, so, you know, it couldn't have turned out any better. I still love it. I'm still having a blast. I got over my little phase. The money hits the bank, and it's a weird I know,
thing. Right? It's a weird sensation.
It's a weird thing, you know. I had money. I'd already had money. I'd had money for 15 years before that. But then you get that kind of money, and you know, I built a bigger house. And
how does Dana walk away?
I don't walk away.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't walk away. Going through that transition with the Fertittas to WME was a good experience for me. And it reminded me how much I really love this business and love what I'm doing. So they're probably gonna have to come and drag me out of here. I don't see myself walking away from this.
And Dana, you got all this goddamn money, man. You could just chill. What's it called?
Looking for a fight?
Yeah.
You're going out there and chasing bulls around, bro. If one of them kick you in your goddamn head, bro, you got hundreds of millions. Like, why do you do that? Bro? Like,
I don't know why. Okay, that's a good question too.
What is looking for a fight?
Hey, you doing all these
great
crazy
podcast.
people.
You guys got great questions, actually. Yeah, I don't know why I do that. You know, believe me, when we rode those bulls, everybody that was around me there was telling me not to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And I won't do it again. Let's put it that way. That was a one and done. I won't do that again. Yeah. That one, and we went out in the middle of Florida, the middle of nowhere, in the ocean, and they put chum all over the water. And we jumped in the water to see if we would find, and sharks came from everywhere, man. And there was a shark coming up at us like the movie Jaws.
That's some really white stuff. There.
And I thought that this thing was going to hit us. I won't do that again either. That was a one and done.
Yeah,
so,
bro.
Yeah.
But you just got to see it.
We do some dumb shit on that show.
You give me $100 million. I'm by island and sit on my ass. You just keep going and doing crazy shit. But
you think you would? And everybody that's watching this right now all has that fantasy of, if I had this much money, I'd be sitting on an island somewhere, drinking a cocktail and whatever. How many days can you sit on the island and drink a cocktail before you're like, all right, man, get me the hell out of here? It's just, you can't do it. I've been on like 2-week vacations where I'm like losing my mind and can't wait to get back to work. We all have to be a part of something. We all have to get up and I don't know. I like to win, man. I like to win. I have to get up and try to win every day. And if I don't, I see why people die after they retire. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, getting up and being a part of nothing. You know, mowing your lawn or sitting in the backyard, or that shit gets old quick, man.
Hey, Dana, I'm going to say this, man, really quick, and this is it for me. We got a small moment to hang out with you in Nashville, but it was late.
Yeah.
But here today, man, I think prior to this, I had been, hearing things through the media, looking at you from their perspective. But I really want to say, man, I appreciate you coming on the pivot and really allowing us to see you.
Thanks.
Like from the horse's mouth, and just sharing these moments with us. We learn a lot from all of our guests. They tend to bring, this show tends to bring something out of them that we don't hear about all the time. I guess that's the pivot. But man, we appreciate you. Ryan usually raps. He's the consummate pro, Mr. ESPN. But I'm still in his glory right now. Because I respect the fuck out of you
Thanks
for
having
everything
me,
you've
man.
shared.
Appreciate it.
Man, thank you so much, man. That was amazing, bro.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate
This was fun, man.
Yeah,
You guys asked great questions.
I appreciate it,
We'll
dog.
try.
Yeah, man, that was good, man.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
You know what's funny, and Lene, I'll tell you this. Every time somebody asks me to do a podcast, I'm like, the f- are these guys going to ask me that every other fucking podcast hasn't asked me? You know what I mean?
That was
and
dope,
that
man.
you guys were
That was
great.
good.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Niggas to me, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling.